At some point, you have to learn how to let things go. And unfortunately, in this video, we're going to be looking at a particular user from the trestless hair loss subreddit. It's still, the same amount of hairline recession, but it's very wispy in the midsection. In fact, it looks like the frontal region lost some density, so I don't know how the hell this got worse. So this guy just lost a lot of hair and a lot of money. He pretty much just paid to be butchered. Hey guys, before we continue this video, I would like to mention that we now have liposomal minoxidil sulfate on my website, folligens.com, folligenz.com, and if the order queue is available and open, you can order it there. We're running it as a cosmetic. There are other sort of botanicals inside of this particular topical that are pretty helpful when it comes to conditioning the hair. So that's at folligens.com, folligenz.com. That's folligenz.com. Go check it out and maybe even try it out. See you there. At some point, you have to learn how to let things go. And unfortunately, in this video, we're going to be looking at a particular user from the trestless hair loss subreddit. The title of the post is, quote, 1 year hair transplant, 1,800 grafts, reviews, and what to do, question mark, unquote. And let's just have a look at the pictures before we even read what's going on in the caption. So this is his before, and this is his after. If you come out of a hair transplant looking worse than you did beforehand, you have to actually ask yourself the question, what did I spend my money on? Did I get robbed? Will I get my money back? If not, how do I move on? And this is probably a sensitive topic because some people do indeed get butchered, right? And I think this is a case of a guy, just getting butchered, but we'll probably see more later on. But as you can clearly see, his hairline is more recessed. He has less density on top. I'm tempted to say maybe they took some hair from the front and put it in the back. I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but it's okay. This is the next picture. Yeah, how the hell do you have less coverage in your midsection afterwards, right? Like, let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, so this is him beforehand, right? You can clearly see he has lots of coverage, a lot of somewhat dense hair. I mean, there's some thinning in the frontal midsection, and clearly he has some hairline recession, but he has a lot of decent coverage, right? So how the hell does that turn into this? It's still, the same amount of hairline recession, but it's very wispy in the midsection. In fact, it looks like the frontal region lost some density. So I don't know how the hell this got worse. Again, this is just really horrible. Okay, maybe it looks like he got a fade on the side, right? But still, whatever sort of thing they did for his hairline, it didn't take. In fact, it just looks like he has less coverage. Again, he probably did get some kind of a haircut, but the hair is just not as dense as it was before. It does look like they probably damaged some areas, perhaps during the transplant. Even a year after recovery, you should see some meaningful amount of regrowth, right? I'm looking at the temple area. I don't know, it just looks like his hairline was pushed back a bit more here. He got screwed over. Next picture. This just makes it a bit more clearer. If we look at his hairline in the after, it does look like wispy. Like clearly it's an obvious transplant, so they didn't even try. Maybe if he were to grow out his hair, it'd probably look a bit better. There wasn't any sort of meaningful improvement between these two pictures, before and after. In fact, again, I'm tempted to say that he's slightly worse. If you go back to the first picture in the camera roll, his hairline looks a bit more recessed. And now it is the top-down view, and all I have to say is, yeah, this is tragic. You see that there are more gaps in his hair, in the midsection. You can see more scalp, as opposed to the before. It was mostly just in the crown area. And even in the frontal midsection over here, where you can see my little cursor, moving around cursor, you can see that there was some coverage. And over here, most of the coverage is greatly diminished. So this guy just lost a lot of hair and a lot of money. He pretty much just paid to be butchered. And now we can look at the donor area, And all I have to say is he has a fantastic donor area. Look how coarse the hair is. Very, very coarse hair over here, right? So it's kind of weird how he wasn't able to get a good result, because when you have hair that is this curly, this coarse, this thick, if you are to transplant it to any sort of thinning areas, you don't need as many grafts due to the sort of coverage that the hair provides and this sort of geometrical feature, right? Yet somehow they weren't able to pull it off. In fact, it looks like his donor was butchered. You can still see his donor area was over-harvested, if anything. This is really embarrassing. Not for the guy himself. I mean, he has to go around walking around like this, right? He has to walk around like this. But more so for the clinic, whoever did this to him should be very ashamed. He could have gotten a solid fix to his hairline. Let's have a look again. Yeah, he could have gotten a solid fix to his hairline, fortified it a bit, definitely fill in the midsection, but instead he ended up with this horror show. You guys really, really need to be careful in regards to where you get your hair transplant done. It's not even just, Turkey, hair mills. It's more so, check your doctor. If you're having this issue where you feel like the person you're talking to for your hair transplant consultation is trying to give you a sales pitch rather than giving you meaningful medical advice, because a hair transplant is a sort of medical procedure. It is a surgery. If that's the case, if you feel like you're getting a used car salesman kind of pitch, then step back and reassess. If on the day of the transplant you notice that it's mostly technicians and there's no doctor, or the doctor is sparsely present, or the doctor only draws the hairline and leaves, and the doctor's not giving any sort of, instruction while the technicians are there, then that is a red flag. And, we'll read what's going on with this guy, but this is awful. This is just fucking horrible. I don't even know what to say. So let's have a look at the post. So he writes, quote, "I had a transplant of 1,800 grafts for €3,500. I had a feeling that this amount of grafts was too conservative, and I wanted 4,000 grafts, but the doctor said that is more than enough grafts for a great result. I have the feeling that I got robbed and that the transplant was not a success at all." Gee, you think? The before and after pictures are almost identical in these side pictures. The after pictures look even worse. When I go to shave, the barbers tell me that the transplant was not good. I can't do a buzz cut, and my forehead looks huge. I use a spray that contains 5% minoxidil and finasteride as well. I exercise and eat healthy. I don't smoke or take any drugs or medication. I'm thinking of asking for a second transplant without shaving and for free, and for 2,000 to 3,000 grafts. The doctor was too conservative. What would you do in my place?" Unquote. You mean to tell me that somehow the doctor used less than what was proposed and still got a shitty outcome? If anything, it looks like he just damaged the native hair follicles. Just my opinion. Again, looking at this picture yourself, right, that I have on the screen, hopefully you guys are looking, if you're able to, you can clearly see that he's just worse off in the after picture. He has less hair. It's as if there was more damage that occurred on his scalp. I don't know what the hell happened. Maybe the transplantation process destroyed the native hair follicles, or, maybe he's not actually taking finasteride, right? He didn't even specify the concentration of finasteride he was using. He just said 5% minoxidil. He could be using very, very low dose topical finasteride like other people do. But the reality is, this guy shouldn't be going for another transplant. He should try to understand maybe what happened, right? And that's what he's doing right now. So a lot of people in the comment section, they seem to be saying that he, this user over here says he has to take oral finasteride, not topical. And that makes more sense, because it tends to be that people who try to cope around with topical fin, they sometimes go for a very low dose. There is that one shitty company, I'm not even going to mention their names, but this one company, they're trying to run topical finasteride at 0.005% concentration. That's not going to do anything for you. You're down. Sorry. I have a bit of a allergy. But in any case, yeah, this this sucks. This is a horrible transplant. And it could just be the fact that he's getting worse without using any sort of meaningful DHT, blocker, I guess you can say, whether it's a high dose topical finasteride or topical dutasteride or just the regular oral fin or dute. And on top of that, it's just that he got a shitty transplant overall. And this should be a point of caution. You can't cheap out on your hair transplant, and you can't get around not taking a meaningful treatment. So don't play with topical fin. Go for the doses of topical fin that has been studied. That is 0.1% up to 0.25% concentration. Right? Topical dutasteride, it is, admittedly a bit more experimental, but at the higher ends of the concentration, like maybe 0.25, at the most 0.5%, that should be enough. But even then, don't even gamble with that. Just take these medications orally. Obviously, go talk to your doctor and see if you're able to. But if you're not going to, then you've wasted your money and you've also wasted your time. But in any case, thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate you. And as you know, I started a company called Folligens. That's FOLLIGENZ.com. And right now we're selling liposomal minoxidil sulfate. We're sold out, actually. But if you put your name in the newsletter, when we go back in stock, we will surely send you guys an email regarding the product. It's being ran as a cosmetic, and hopefully you guys can try it out and maybe even check it out. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out. And guys, don't cheap out on your hair transplant. Look at this. Look at this. How do you go in and then come out worse than you were before? I feel bad for you, man. Stay strong. Bye, guys.